Island hopping. Doesn't that have a nice holiday ring to it? But in this part of the world, holiday comforts take a backseat, right next to my butt, on all the planes, boats, buses, and bikes I needed to explore the Lesser Sunda Islands, a distance of over 1,000 kilometers across 9 islands. Though, while my butt got numb, my brain got active. I wondered, if the locals traveled over the same land and water centuries ago to build their communities, have their ingredients and culinary traditions evolved like the people have? Only the food will tell. For this trip, I chose to visit a few islands in the Lesser Sunda: Sumba, Flores, and Alor in Indonesia, and the country of Timor-Leste on the eastern side of Timor Island. By traveling across boundaries of water, terrain, and geopolitics, I should get a broad taste of the ingredients and cuisine that make up this region. Hello from Sumba, island of undiscovered beaches and beautiful non-tropical landscapes. I've just landed in East Sumba and I'm taking some time to check out the landscape that I've seen and heard about so much. And soon I will head to Tambalaka, which is in West Sumba, and stay with a family in their village and find out what they do, what they eat, what they cook, because I honestly have no idea about this island other than it's very hot, dry, and they have a lot of wild horses. So I will find out for all of us. My hosts in Desa Weolanda, Om Petrus and Mama Henny, are the proud parents of a young woman I met while working in Bali. They live a modest life as farmers, like many in Sumba, but they welcomed me with open arms and I tagged along on their daily routine. It's dry season here now, which lasts 8 months out of the year, and the effects are severe, especially on farmers. Their main crops are rice, corn, cassava, beans, and cashews, but during the dry season, the yield is little to none, and it becomes much harder to support a family. Therefore, the food is simple, just enough to feel full. Dried, pounded corn mixed with rice, boiled or roasted roots like cassava, and vegetables from the farm. Fresh meat is always a treat. Mama Henny apologized for the food she offered me, but I was clear. I eat what you eat, and I'll be happy. Funny enough, eating what they ate was the healthiest food on this trip, and I loved it. After Sumba, I hopped on a boat to my next destination, Ende, on Flores Island across the Savu Sea. 9 hours on smooth water, fresh air, no internet, and endless views into the horizon. This may just be my favorite way to travel. Welcome to Ende in Flores Island. I'm kind of at the midway point of this huge long island from east to west, and there's a fair amount of tourists that swing through here They all go visit Mount Kelimutu, which is famous for its 3 colored cratered lakes. But I've already seen it, so that's not what I'm here for this time around. I've already found a local warung that serves strictly traditional food of this region, and I asked them if I could join them in the kitchen tomorrow, and they agreed. So I'm very excited to see the ingredients that they use and how they cook them and how everything tastes. So yeah, yay! Early in the morning, I headed to Rumah Makan Kalila. This family-run restaurant is the only one in town serving traditional food of Ende. And as I settled in to watch their prep, I noticed a lot of the same base ingredients as in Sumba, like corn, cassava, and beans, despite the fact that everything else was different: the weather, terrain, religion, and language. According to the women running the kitchen, traditional cooking can only be done with fire and wood. Smoke flavors every dish, the missing ingredient with gas cooking. Just as we would adjust heat by turning the knob from left to right, they would adjust the heat by adding more or less logs on the fire, from simmer to boil in minutes. I also began to see a stew that would become a running theme through my trip. Here they called it boze, a thick velvety stew made from local corn, beans, pandan, ginger, and coconut milk. Boze can be made savory or sweet, but it usually sits in the middle of the taste spectrum, with the natural saltiness and palm sugar balancing the sweetness and aromatics in the other ingredients. I don't know how many kilometers I've been traveling already, but I've been learning so much about the cuisine and the produce here. Not surprisingly, much of what grows here influences what I've been seeing in the food. So a lot of corn for sure, rice, beans, cassava, and the thing is, especially on this island, a lot of the dishes are more or less the same. But because this island is so big, there are so many villages and ethnicities, dialects, and languages that it's been a challenge of its own to try to figure out which dishes are dishes that I've seen before, but with a different name. Soon after, I headed west and inland, up into the mountains and to Bajawa. I connected with a local, Ibu Verni, who, with my luck, turned out to be the unofficial spokeswoman of culinary traditions in this village. When we got together to discuss the produce and food of Bajawa, I made a proposition. If I bought all the ingredients, could she show me how to cook everything? We had a deal. The next day, we started prepping and cooked into the night. Ibu Verni was a pro and even brainstormed an entire menu to prepare, positive that she picked dishes that I hadn't tasted yet. Sure enough, I had never seen koro ika, ra'arete manu, ika zomo, po'o, makivete, and utabale before. But wait, utataba. It was just like boze from Ende. Here was a stew with dried corn, beans, ginger, pandan, lemongrass, and coconut milk again. But this was a supersized version with the addition of cassava, pumpkin, and fresh katu leaves. This was fast becoming my favorite dish, especially because I needed to combat the chilly mountain air by wrapping my hands around a bowl of this. Good morning and welcome to Labuan Bajo. I'm at the most western part of Flores Island before you get out to the islands out to the west. But it's beautiful here. It may be dry season, but everything seems still very green and lush to me. A lot of farmers here with fresh spices like vanilla, cloves, nutmeg, cinnamon, peppercorns, and learning about the cuisine here of the Manggarai Barat people. And the farmer that I'm staying with, he super loves to cook and loves food, so he's really great to stick around with and learn about the food here. So I'm so excited to be here. In the village of Liang Nadara, 45 minutes from Labuan Bajo, I stayed with another farmer, Crystal, and his family. It turns out he's also a leader in his village, hosting visitors from around the world, wanting to learn about Manggarai Barat culture. Crystal's crops were the same as what I had been seeing in the region: corn, rice, and cassava. But the terrain here was also richer for growing spices Indonesia was famous for: vanilla, cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, and pepper. As a pastry chef who had never seen these spices in their natural, fresh form, my walks with him were the best.
Setelah angkat baru menipet. Tapi dari ini sudah.
After weeks of boats and buses, it was time for my first flight in the Lesser Sunda to Alor, the easternmost island in the Nusa Tenggara Timur province of Indonesia. Hello and welcome to Alor Island. I just got here today and my first thoughts are this is a very small island with not a lot of outside influence or visitors. From the airport to where I'm staying, I spotted so many white strips of sand and beaches, and mountains are everywhere. It's like mountains, beach, and not a lot in between that. So obviously the nature here is incredible. And the people have been so friendly, especially kids. I don't really see a lot of foreigners, so they're curious about me, asking about me, my name, what I'm doing, taking pictures with me. I've given out my phone number to so many, so many kids, but they're so sweet. And I'm going to be here for a few days. I'm going to learn about Culinary nuts and see the process of some regional snacks and dishes from here.
Culinary trees are indigenous to Indonesia, producing a nut with a high oil content, similar to pine nuts. To harvest, farmers wait for the fruit to fall to the ground and collect them. Then the nut is extracted by hand, one by one. Culinary nuts have existed for years, but are only just beginning to gain traction in the domestic market. With continued support and interest, it could hit the international market one day. And if you ever need a snack between meals, this region has you covered. You'll find kue rambut, with its signature hair-like strands shaped into a crispy treat, and jagung titi, dried corn kernels that are roasted and pounded wafer thin, at markets and street-side stalls across the islands. Finally, it was time to cross international lines, and I flew into Timor-Leste, one of the newest countries in the world, which won its independence from Indonesia in 2002.
Hello and welcome to Awry Island. It's just north of Dili, the capital of Timor-Leste. I've been here for a couple of days now, and I specifically wanted to come here because even though this country is geographically at the same level of several islands that I've been to in NTT, it is distinctly its own country with different cultures and languages and villages and in turn different cuisines and cooking techniques, and I wanted to see the similarities or differences between the two.
It was fascinating. I was in a different country, yet the faces felt familiar. The languages were different, but the numbers were the same in Indonesian. It didn't take long to see how Timor-Leste was a remarkable product of evolution, politics, history, and geography, colliding on just 15,000 square kilometers. The only constant? Produce. The same weather and terrain as the other islands in the Lesser Sunda also produced similar crops in Timor-Leste, only with much more beautiful varieties of ingredients like beans and starchy roots. I also learned that historical circumstances affected cooking techniques here, such as using every part of a plant like tamarind seeds and using salt stones from the sea to flavor soups.
This stone from sea. Stone.
Yeah.
From sea.
When eating the local cuisine, I felt like I hadn't traveled far at all, because here was the stew again. One version was called batar dukubelar and another marungi batar, both variations of boze and utataba that I had eaten earlier in Indonesia. On another land, in another country, corn, beans, vegetables, and aromatics found their way to be cooked together again. Over the weeks, I island hopped all over one region. Different languages, religions, traditions, ethnicities, and boundaries. Nothing was the same. But the food connected them all. It made it easy to imagine then, millenniums ago, all of these people gathered on one land, around one fire, learning how to cook together. Then each slowly breaking away to their own corner of the world on separate islands, while still retaining that shared knowledge of cooking. Turns out, I wasn't island hopping at all. I was traveling through time.